Taking samples from populations. In today's lesson, students will be able to describe why sampling is an important statistical method. Students will be able to identify a population and a sample. Statistics is the practice of collecting data so that we can learn something about a group. The entire group of individuals is called a population. There are all sorts of groups that we can study. For example, we could look at all the people on the earth as a population, or just people in the United States, or just people in Brooklyn. So a population, again, is an entire group of individuals. However, individuals does not necessarily mean that a population only refers to humans. So, for example, a biologist might be interested in a population of killer bees or a type of oak tree native to North America. Someone who works for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, may be interested in the water in the Hudson River, while a manufacturer might be interested in all iPhones produced at a plant in one day. As you can see, there are all sorts of populations that one might want to study, and statistics plays a key role in creating a methodology that will allow us to make reliable conclusions about that population. Have you ever heard of a census? One very famous census is the U.S. population census, where the government attempts to go to every household in the U.S. and ask questions about race, ethnicity, income, age, etc. However, we only complete such a massive project once every 10 years. Why do you think this is? One reason is that it's very costly. It's very costly to send someone to every single household in the U.S., and it's also very time-consuming. A census is basically when you ask or collect data about every individual in a population, but that is often very difficult to complete. Instead, statisticians practice a method called sampling. Sampling is essentially the heart of what statistics is, and when it is done well, we are able to make an inference about the population we are curious about. A sample is a subset of individuals from a population that we will actually collect data about, because we simply can't measure or ask questions to every member of the population. To summarize, let's look at why sampling is important. There are three reasons listed on the page shown here. First, it is often impossible, too costly, or time-consuming to measure every individual in a population. Sampling, when done correctly, can still give an accurate picture of some truth about that population. And lastly, we can use data gathered from sampling to make an inference about the population. Pay attention to that word in bold, inference, as it's going to be one of the most important concepts that we learned in statistics this year. Let's do an example together. In the following exercise, we're going to identify the population and the sample taken from that population. This exercise is on page 229 of your textbook. Students as customers. A high school student newspaper plans to survey local businesses about the importance of students as customers. From an alphabetical list of all local businesses, the newspaper staff chooses 150 businesses at random. Of these, 73 return the questionnaire mailed by the staff. Identify the population and the sample. Take a moment, see if you can identify the population and then the sample. The population in this example is the list of all local businesses. It doesn't state specifically how many local businesses there are, but we know that the entire list of local businesses is the population that we're choosing from. Now the sample is the 150 businesses chosen at random. However, notice only 73 of them actually returned the questionnaire, so we only really have 73 local businesses in the sample. Let's do the second one on the page, or rather, you'll complete this one independently. It says student archaeologists. An archaeological dig turns up large numbers of pottery shards, broken stones, tools, and other artifacts. Students working on the project classify each artifact and assign it a number. The counts in different categories are important for understanding the site, so the project director chooses 2% of the artifacts at random and checks the students' work. Identify the population and the sample. Now that you've had an opportunity to practice identifying populations and samples, let's have a little thought experiment. For homework tonight, think about something you're curious about and a question that you think could be answered by a statistical study. What's your population, and what would be a reasonable sample? For example, I love boxing and I'm really interested in amateur boxing. So I want to know what percentage of wins come by KO, knockout, or technical knockout, TKO. My population, let's say, are all active amateur boxers in the US, men and women. And let's say I randomly select 50 boxers from the USA Boxing website. So take time to complete a similar exercise for yourself, thinking about a research question that you could answer using a statistical study.